All right, so part one, what does the Bible have to say about itself? I think a great defense that the Bible has against the idea that it's just a book of made-up stories is the Bible itself, because the Bible is very detailed when it tells us stories. The Bible will often tell us about when something happened, as specifically as it can. It will tell us the when, it will tell us where things happen, and it will tell us who was there to witness these events happening. It tells us the when, it tells us the where, and it tells us the who. Whereas a fairy tale, some made-up story, it's going to start with once upon a time. Or it'll say in the forgotten mystical forest of unanswered text messages, or something weird like that. So we have a quick game for you, and this is going to be the students and the leaders, except Daniel, against myself and my wife, because we came up with this, and we are pretty sure we can stump you. We have a short game. We think we can stump you with this game, so it's all of you versus the three of us. Good luck. I'm going to read out 5 non-descriptive locations where movies, or the majority of a movie, takes place, and you're going to have to tell me what movie I'm talking about. So for example, the movie Treasure Planet takes place where? On Treasure Planet, absolutely. We have slides to go with that. We do, Treasure Planet. So do you guys understand how this works? I'm going to read the location. You're going to tell me what movie it's from. We got 5 of them. I think 4 and 5 might stump you. The first 3 are very easy. So number 1, a long time ago in a galaxy far, far away. What's that from? Star Wars, absolutely. It's not Star Trek. All right, number 2, Wonderland. What movie takes place in Wonderland? Alice in Wonderland. Yeah, you don't have to raise your hand. That's very polite. We're not that polite here. You can just yell it out. Absolutely, Alice in Wonderland. Number 3, The Kingdom of Far, Far Away. No. Well, Shrek 2. Shrek 2. Yeah, not Shrek 1. Everyone said Shrek 1. All right, so yeah, Far, Far Away. All right, last 2. I think we can stump you. Somewhere Over the Rainbow. It is The Wizard of Oz. All right, and then last one. What movie takes place on a tiny island under the A in Atlantic? All right. My brother got it. It is Cloudy with a Chance of Meatballs. At the beginning of the movie, he says somewhere on a small island underneath the A in Atlantic is the tiny island of Swallow Falls where they make sardines. Very sad story. My brother got it. All right, so family, he stumped us. But anyway, so very creative people. They were writing these stories, and they came up with these names of locations to fit their stories. Very non-descriptive, right? So they could tell whatever story they wanted to tell. But the whole point is that the Bible does the opposite. The Bible will often be very, very specific when telling us a story. It will tell us when things happened. It will tell us where things happened, and it'll tell us who was there to witness these events happening. So we got 2 quick examples for you. Number 1, Jeremiah 46, 1-2. Just follow along as I read it here. This is the word of the Lord that came to Jeremiah the prophet concerning the nations, concerning Egypt. This is the message against the army of Pharaoh Necho, king of Egypt, who was defeated at Carchemish on the Euphrates River by Nebuchadnezzar, king of Babylon, the 4th year of Jehoiakim, son of Josiah, king of Judah. And then it goes on to describe this battle that happens. So where we see this is at a place called Carchemish on the Euphrates River. When, to save you the math, they give you rulers, you can track the dates. It's around 605, 625 BC. We got a pretty close range. And who? Necho, pharaoh of Egypt, and Nebuchadnezzar, king of Babylon. Now, what's interesting about this story in the book of Jeremiah is that for the longest time, there was no evidence that this battle had ever taken place. In fact, the only evidence for this battle, aside maybe a Greek opinion, was the Bible itself. Until, in 1956, a Babylonian tablet was discovered giving the same details of the battle that Jeremiah does. I can't read that, but it's talking about the battle taking place at Carchemish on the Euphrates River with the Egyptians there, with the Babylonians there. So I thought that's pretty cool. There's something in the Bible, history recorded, that later we discovered more about, but the Bible had it claimed first. All right, second example, something from the New Testament in Acts. I don't have that one written down. Then Herod went from Judea to Caesarea and stayed there. He had been quarreling with the people of Tyre and Sidon. They now joined him and sought an audience with him. After securing the support of Blastus, a trusted personal servant of the king, they asked for peace because they depended on the king's country for their food supply. All right, so we know Herod's in Caesarea, but then what happens? On the appointed day, Herod, wearing his royal robes, sat on his throne, delivered a public address to the people. They shouted, the people, "This is the voice of a God, not of a man." Immediately, because Herod did not give praise to God, an angel of the Lord struck him down, and he was eaten by worms, and he died. So again, this story, this is a New Testament story, not an Old Testament story. But a New Testament story, we see where this is happening in Caesarea. And we even know why Herod went to the games of Caesarea to honor the emperor of Rome. That's why he was there. He was asked to make a speech. That's why he makes a speech. And then everyone says, "You're a god. You're not just a man." When we know that this happened in 44 AD, because sources outside the Bible support this story, and they tell us that he died. His death was documented in 44 AD, which also lines up with, if you look at the broader book of Acts, when Herod dies. And then who? It would be Herod Agrippa. There's 3 different Herods, like all mentioned in the New Testament. This is the last of the 3. This is the one who would have killed James, the brother of the disciple John. Herod Agrippa would have killed disciple James, beheaded him with a sword. So what's interesting is that doctors in the 21st century, a couple years after 2000, 2002, 2003, they got together and they wanted to look at the cause of death for Herod by looking at the biblical account, by looking at other secular accounts of Herod's death. They wanted to see if they could kind of piece together how this prominent figure had just all of a sudden keel over and died. And they determined that he probably had, very smart doctors, some type of kidney problem. He had some kind of chronic stomach problem. And that also they could tell that he was eaten away at by maggots in areas where you don't want maggots to be eating you at. What they couldn't figure out, they could figure out the stomach problem, they could figure out the kidney problem, but what they could not figure out was the cause of the maggots. Because in their opinion, the maggots, the issue, lethal, he was going to die. But they could not figure out the cause for these maggots to come upon his body to be the final blow in his death. Unless, you look at what the Bible says, and it says that God had moved his divine hand on the life of Herod and had struck him down after he'd done many evil things. It's also interesting, Dr. Luke, we talked about Luke last week. We talked about the death of Judas. Matthew talks about it, talks about the Jewish prophecy with Judas's death because he's writing to Jews. We talked about how Dr. Luke talks about the body, the cause of death. It popped like a bag of Doritos with Judas. Here, Dr. Luke is being, again, very scientifically accurate by talking about how Herod had died. So if the Bible was just made up, if it was just written by some guys who wanted it to be believable, you would think they would want to be sparse on the details, right? Because if you're lying details, you're going to get stuck on the details. People can fact check you. They can say, where is this place? Does it exist? Who is this people group? Do they exist? Is this a real well that you're talking about? Is this a real river that you're talking about? They can fact check you the more details you throw in there. So you'd think if the Bible was just written by men, a bunch of different men, very consistently, but if it was just written by men, they would want to leave out the details. But instead, we see throughout the entire Bible, many, many details are sprinkled through all the stories. We're only going to look at 2 of those.